At the gates there, hundreds and thousands of bouquets. A crystal clear or early autumn morning, the sun warming the streets. It was a chilly night. And the weather forecast is good. The dry weather will hold. The gates to Kensington Palace, through which, in a few moments' time, the gun carriage will pass, bearing the coffin of the Princess of Wales. Crowds have been lining these streets for several days and swarmed across it indeed last night as the hearse brought the coffin into the palace, back to the Princess's London home. The palace courtyard, through the gates, the palace staff waiting the Princess to emerge. And we see the lead horses now bringing the gun carriage. Goodbye, England's Rose. Words which by the end of today will have entered the language. The avenue's been narrowed, especially today. The crowds have been allowed onto the Mall. And Prince Charles comforting his youngest son, waiting for that moment when they join their mother. How often we saw Princess Diana hold her head at the same angle that her eldest son is holding it now. He's so like her. Charity workers assembling and waiting behind, 500 of them. And here come the chief mourners, Duke of Edinburgh, Prince William, Earl Spencer, Prince Harry, and the Prince of Wales. An almost intolerable moment for the two boys, the two princes. Impossible to put into words as they take their place behind their mother's coffin. Those soldiers in their bearskins will shortly perform the most difficult task of their lives. Members of the 1st Battalion, the Welsh Guards, will bear the coffin into the Abbey. And when the coffin is lifted off the gun carriage, there the gun carriage's duty's end and it returns to its barracks in St John's Wood. And the horses, who behaved immaculately. The men from the Prince of Wales's company, which is the senior company of the 1st Battalion Welsh Guards, specially chosen for this onerous task. They're all over 6 foot tall, all of a similar height, and they've rehearsed this manoeuvre since they came together on Tuesday of this week. At their head, Captain Richard Williams, who won the MC in Cambodia in 1991. And they will now bear the coffin of the Princess of Wales into Westminster Abbey. The coffin lined with lead, so heavy, and the eyes of the world are on these men. Entering the Abbey gates, the Dean of Westminster leading. And the chief mourners behind. Has London witnessed a more moving sight? Background, Big Ben strikes 11. And as it enters the Great West Door, all will stand to the national anthem.
We are gathered here in Westminster Abbey to give thanks for the life of Diana, Princess of Wales, to commend her soul to Almighty God, and to seek his comfort for all who mourn. We particularly pray for God's restoring peace and loving presence with her children, the Princes William and Harry, and all her family. In her life, Diana profoundly influenced this nation and the world. Although a princess, she was someone for whom, from afar, we dared to feel affection, and by whom we were all intrigued. She kept company with kings and queens, with princes and presidents, but especially we remember her humane concerns and how she met individuals and made them feel significant. In her death, she commands the sympathy of millions. Whatever our beliefs and faith, let us with thanksgiving remember her life and enjoyment of it. Let us rededicate to God the work of those many charities that she supported. Let us commit ourselves anew to caring for others. And let us offer to him and for his service our own mortality and vulnerability.
of the half-muffled bells of Westminster Abbey, Princess Diana begins the final stage of her journey. It'll take her through North London, out onto the M1, and up to her ancestral home in Northamptonshire. Entering Whitehall, and what a contrast a single hearse to applause from the mourners. The military involvement is over. Just Diana's hearse, followed by the chief mourners. Beginning of the long journey home. And just leaving the Abbey now, Prince William, Prince Harry in the back, their father beyond them. And more applause. Quite extraordinary. I've never witnessed that in this country at a funeral. It's as if the people want to say something, and this is the best way to express their feelings.
Time to spot faces in the crowd. Just all sorts of people come into view, and we mentioned much earlier that there were representatives of charities and friends. A Christmas card list is what they looked at when they invited people. Bells peal on. People wait to leave, and back to the car, making its way out of North London.
That, if I'm not mistaken, is Hendon Way. Approaching one of London's great shopping centres, Brent Cross. And from there on to the North Circular Road. Some might say the dreaded North Circular Road. Always chock-a-block. And from there up onto the M1. And in fact, we've just heard that the police are asking mourners as they begin to gather on bridges over the M1 not to throw flowers down from the bridges onto the car, or indeed drape flags, for obvious reasons. Almost hemmed in by the crowds here, as it, I think, is emerging from Hendon Way. Oh, I know, it's the slip road from Hendon Way onto the North Circular.
John, it's almost as if they don't want her to go, isn't it? Want to press forward and see her, but, you know, slow down, slow down.
Yeah. As I said earlier, I don't have to believe it if I don't want to. Cavalcade of flowers. And maybe there's a feeling rippling through the crowd that she's had the send-off she deserved. We did her proud. It was a funeral that involved everybody, from the humblest in the land to the highest in the land. It went without a hitch, and it was so absolutely appropriate. And everyone, I think, can be proud for having played their part. And they'll say in years to come that London, Britain, gave the princess the farewell she deserved. Well, not quite on the North Circular. I was a little ahead of myself, but very close to it.
If you live there, you will be saying to everybody you meet for the rest of your life, Princess Diana's funeral passed my front door. And that, of course, that appeal to ordinary people, which was mentioned back in Westminster Abbey, the way that she had a capacity to make everybody feel that they sort of knew her, really, and her frailties. Well, we've all got those, so that's fine. That was fine, because she's gone now. People up on the central barrier there to get a glimpse. A little bit more crowd discipline here, people back off the carriageway. Traffic stopped on the other side, I think. Piled up on the other side, just stopped there. I should imagine everyone out of their cars, out of the buses, coming across the road. If they can. This hearse will be going up the M1 motorway, of all things.
Still the crowd there. This is not a residential area, and they've left their homes to line the streets to remember this day. And applause again. I'm sure the mood now is almost one of celebration, celebrating a life. The mourning was this morning. The mourning will be forever, but for the moment, they're celebrating a life. On the bridge above it.
Part of the world where you often get hitchhikers trying to get a lift before the M1 begins. None of them today. There are no crowds here. The police have kept people off this particular stretch. I presume we're actually on motorway now. But this bit has been, oh yes, there's the familiar blue signs that tell us all, we all know them, you're on a motorway.
And we'll stay with the Princess until she disappears from our view onto the M1 motorway and north to Althorpe House in Northamptonshire. A brief stop to clear the flowers off. Yes, they had to do that. Obviously, it looks covered in flowers. You can't go on a motorway with your car covered in flowers, whatever your car is. So a brief stop. Leave the flowers on the hard shoulder, and no doubt they'll remain.
Those men on the left-hand side, motorway workers, I bet they didn't expect this. Flowers off from the Princess's funeral, in a way, in front of them, and the little procession moves off again, up the M1 towards the final resting place in Northamptonshire.
And that'll be our final view of Princess Diana as she leaves North London for the journey north. For the moment, our final view.